Welcome to Odd Spots, the show that explores the intriguing and eccentric things that people do. Today's show is devoted to art and the way some weird people get their creative juices flowing. We'll head to Japan for the world's biggest calligraphy class. Talk fashion till you're blue in the face. Way out looks for men. Chocolate creations, some sweet Easter designs from Belgium. It's a full-on art attack right here on Odd Spots. If there's one thing that the Malaysians love more than their art, it's setting records. And here in the South China Sea, more than 40 divers got together to go for one of the world's weirdest record attempts. These guys are trying to set a record for underwater painting. Never heard of it? I'm not surprised, because unless you've got gills or can hold your breath for a really long time, you've probably never witnessed this bizarre pastime. There have been attempts to build an underwater art gallery, but strangely, some people were opposed to taking Picasso's Weeping Woman and other priceless works of art into the ocean. The best thing about underwater painting? You don't have to wash your brushes. The divers are working on a 36-metre-long canvas in 3 separate dives to a depth of 15 metres. I guess you could say this is a true example of watercolour. One diver created a very abstract work with the words, "Help me, I'm drowning," written underneath. And by the way he was flailing about, he's obviously very proud of it. Another diver, artist Sharmini, told me completing the dive and drawing was fun, and it was a challenge to finish the picture when a shark was mauling my leg. Art critics are going nuts over the latest works by a previously unknown Austrian painter. With her work selling for as much as $3,000, Nonya the orangutan is making big bananas and making other modern artists look like monkeys. It might just look like a lot of sticky fun, but these canvases smeared with paint are making serious money. Well, the last time I checked, an orangutan in the zoo didn't need a lot of pocket money, so you can bet there's a zookeeper somewhere living high on the hog. Nonya's been playing with paint for the past 6 years as part of what the Vienna Zoo calls a behaviour enrichment programme. In other words, it's something to keep Nonya occupied so she doesn't throw her droppings at zoo visitors. Enjoying her star status, Nonya has become a real hit in the often stuffy art world. She has major exhibitions opening at galleries all around Austria, and critics say human painters could take some tips from Nonya's approach. Apparently, her taste for paint shows no bounds. I can vouch for that. I saw her eat a whole tube of acrylic red. Hidden away in an anonymous building behind a red door in New York's East Village, this quiet and unassuming Chinese man is plotting his next big bang. This is Kai Gung Kwang, and he's a pyrotechnic. Although it sounds like something you could be arrested for in several American states, pyrotechnics is simply the use of fireworks and gunpowder. Yes, Kai gets his kicks by blowing things up and watching explosions. Not the sort of guy you want to get on the wrong side of. That's right, Kai is an explosive artist, and I don't mean he can get a bit cranky if his pen and ink drawing doesn't go to plan. He actually stages explosions and fireworks displays in the name of art. Can you believe he sells his work for several $1,000s and has become one of the hottest names in contemporary art? Give me a Krakenite and some sparklers and I could do something very similar. And you never know when Kai will strike again. He could be blowing up a neighbourhood near you at any moment. This is one artist with a very short fuse. A unique exhibition in sand sculptures of elephant-headed Hindu god Lord Ganesha is underway on the beaches of India's eastern temple town of Puri. Well, I suppose creating something like this is a little more sophisticated than burying your dad in the sand. There's even a Golden Sand Art Institute aiming to revive sand art amongst younger artists. Sand art, yes, it's a good idea, but it can be a real pain to get into a frame. The exhibition would have been a huge success with visitors if it hadn't been for the tide coming in. When Akdal Kangar, an Indian makeup artist, asked his friend to be his model, I bet the volunteer was expecting a bit of rouge and some eyeliner, not to be covered head to toe in paint. Akdal is a sculptor, but instead of working with clay, he likes to work with live bodies. I don't know what he's doing to make these people agree to becoming human statues, but I suspect the word blackmail comes into it somewhere. First, they're dressed in period costume. Then Akdal starts applying the paint. The gold leaf paint used for this human artwork is very expensive. You can't afford to waste a drop. So for the models, that means no bathroom breaks. One of the models told me this kind of work is very difficult, to stand here like a dead body and not move. But if we flinch and ruin his work, Akdal will hit us with a big stick. So that's a good incentive. And during winter it's cold, but your joints soon freeze into the same position. Human statues have fooled many who believe the painted person is a real marble statue and been responsible for a panic attack and 2 coronaries. For now, the sky is the limit for Akdal as he works on the next step of his creations, where to buy paint remover that won't remove your skin as well. Over 25 years in the making, artists Christo and Jean-Claude prepared to transform New York's Central Park into a giant work of art. Famous for creating works of art on a huge scale, Christo said this one would be no different and entitled The Gates. Over 23 miles of pedestrian park will be covered with saffron gates. Christo said this piece would have no purpose whatsoever and hoped it wouldn't cost more than $21 million. Fabulous. We'll come back later in the show to see how this odd art and her hair comes together. When you're a stand-up comedian, you can play some pretty bad venues, but this gig in Japan has to be one of the worst. These guys are trying to get a few laughs by taking their art to new depths. Yes, these comics are taking the plunge into a 2-meter deep aquarium filled with tropical fish, moray eels and sharks. And you know, sharks are the worst audience to play to. Make a wisecrack about those teeth and you could end up losing a leg. Getting laughs underwater must be one of the toughest places to work because there's no atmosphere. Japan's most popular and business-savvy comedy club, Yoshimoto Kogyo, began the daily performance at the Sunshine Aquarium and is said to be the world's first regular underwater comedy show. Yeah, a funny thing happened on the way to the coral reef. What's the deal with Finding Nemo? One time I caught a fish so big I dislocated my shoulder just describing it. I hate deep-sea fishing, but my friends always want me to go along. I get seasick, that's why they want me to go. Cheap bait. Hey look, even the moray eel is laughing. Thank you, I'm here till Thursday. Try the grilled tuna. or hat making is a very old art form, but this unusual event at Christie's auction house was no normal fashion parade. Forget your straw boater, beanie or cap and get a load of this, the world's most expensive headpiece. This baby comes in at a cool £1.5 million sterling, and for that price it would want to keep your head warm at the football. Designer and milliner to the stars, Louis Mariette, gave this completely normal explanation for his creation. I was with some mysterious lover walking in the forest, and I wanted to capture that spirit and always remember that day. I don't know how many times I've wanted to capture the spirit of the moment by designing a hat. Well, there's nothing like suffering for your art, but this artist might be taking things a little bit too far. You see, this isn't watercolour he's using, it's, get ready for it, it's blood. Yes, he's making a political statement by completing this work with his own blood. I just hope it doesn't turn into a mural, or he might be feeling a little faint by the end. I'm not sure how his local blood bank feels about him wasting this precious liquid, but I do know it's a piece of work that Count Dracula would proudly hang in his Transylvanian hideaway. Blood painting isn't recommended for everyone. Haemophiliacs are advised to stick with macrame. Floral artists have for years had two wishes: to work with a thornless rose and to have a blue flower. Well, the thorns are still there, but scientists have finally cracked the blue colour. Yes, put that cure for cancer on hold. This is far more important. But the scientist who developed this is obviously colourblind, because this rose is mauve. Back to the drawing board, Einstein. Let's head back to New York's Central Park, where artist Christo has been busy creating The Gates, and his giant work of art is ready to be unfurled. Christo and Jean-Claude, the husband and wife team known for their kooky creations and bad hair days, stood with New York's mayor as the gates were opened. And yes, you're right, it does look like hundreds of orange bed sheets flapping in the wind. If putting all these up wasn't a big enough job, 300 people had to be hired to pull down the curtains. And at 16 foot high, one of these cracking you on the head would all be in the name of art. When I asked regular park goers what they thought of the $21 million creation, one said, yes, it's quite nice, but I would have preferred a new toilet block and a slippery dip. Another said, it's interesting, but I don't understand why they can't hang their washing out at home like everyone else. Sculptors can have their marble, painters their canvas, and potters their clay. But I think the best medium of all would have to be chocolate. Here, Belgium chocolatiers are busy creating works of art out of delicious, full-cream dairy milk chocolate. Now this is one exhibition I wouldn't want to miss. Chocoholics Anonymous warn their members not to visit the Belgian capital of Brussels during the Easter season, because this is the peak chocolate consumption period of the year. If you're going to go on a chocolate bender, this is the place to do it. Chocolatier Axel Sarkum says his creations start as 5-kilogram blocks of chocolate and are rendered into tantalising shapes and styles. Intricate works of art are created, including eggs, chickens, bunnies, and even clocks. The Belgians are ranked among the top chocolate consumers, with 8.4 kilos eaten per head per year. You might as well strap a couple of Mars bars straight to your thighs. The art of fashion design is intensely competitive, so fashionistas are looking for ways to make their new season's collections really stand out. Nothing like spray painting your models' heads for a point of difference. Yes, I get the feeling that his collar might be a bit tight too. This model is obviously embarrassed about his outfit. Head painting. Start now and be a trendsetter. In Argentina, artists are building toy cars from scrap metal. Here in Buenos Aires, passers-by may think that this group of men are spending their time making toys for local children, but they're actually working away on toy cars for themselves. Yes, it's a classic case of toys for big boys, with these cars being fashioned out of basic household items. The artists meet daily in their studio, manufacturing their toys from electrical appliances. Yes, I wondered where my hairdryer had got to. The project is all about remembering the joyous times of childhood, when my car was faster than your car, and no, I'm not sharing. All cars must comply with rules regarding size, power and composition, and winning is not the objective. Yeah, right. You're looking at the biggest artwork in the world. This 39-metre high building has entered the Guinness Book of World Records. Every corner, every balcony, every patio was painted in different shades to complete this 13-storey mural. The art critics say they sense colour, rhythm and shape. I think it looks like a rainbow has thrown up. It's taken 5 years to complete the job, and just as the last brushstroke was added, it was time to start the second coat. You may not think that there's anything too creative about ripping up some paper and throwing it in the air, but today, confetti is big business, and there's no bigger confetti drop than here in New York's Times Square. The build-up to America's biggest New Year's Eve party always includes the annual confetti flight test. It's not too scientific, just throw a few boxes of confetti onto the unsuspecting crowd and see if it floats. Not only does the confetti have to be fire-resistant, but it also has to fly in the right direction. Yes, the aerodynamics of a piece of paper is something I don't really want to get into. 2,000 pounds of confetti are dropped onto Times Square at midnight, and that adds up to 1 million pieces of paper. And wouldn't you know it, I'm on sweeping duty. Calligraphy. No, it's not a Japanese swear word, but actually an ancient form of creative script. And here in Japan, thousands of people gathered in Tokyo to participate in an annual calligraphy contest. The idea is to write your resolution or wishes in ink and brush to commemorate the new year. Many competitors chose to write peace or security. I wrote no smoking, no drinking. Calligraphy is a very old art form that requires precision and patience to produce perfect lettering. But surely there's a computer with that exact font. Haven't you heard of desktop publishing? Yes, that's very good. Now write end of the story. The Year of the Rooster was marked in Lithuania's capital with a giant ice sculpture. This is what we call art on the rocks. And artist Andreas Petkis had chilblains on his chilblains when he finally finished carving this giant chicken. The 5-metre high sculpture needed 6 tons of ice to complete. That's a lot of slush puppies. With frigid temperatures across Lithuania, the sculpture is expected to last several weeks. But if Andreas doesn't get in from the cold, he won't last another 30 minutes. The ice sculpture has already been seen by hundreds of visitors, all of whom seem to enjoy looking at a frozen chicken. Though one man who tried to lick a drumstick is still waiting for paramedics to pry loose his tongue. Okay, you've spent hours designing and creating your work of art. Now, there's only one thing left to do: knock it all down. Here in Washington in the United States, the ridiculous art of domino toppling was in full swing as children who had spent days setting up this intricate display of dominoes sat back and watched them all fall down. Alas, that's the way of domino art. It's here for a good time, not a long time. I just hope someone took a photo first. More than 10,000 domino tiles were used in the making of this artwork, and by the end of the display, the kids were getting pretty bored, until someone told them there was a $50 bill hidden on the floor. When someone tells these people to get lost, they love it, because they're visiting the Mirror Maze in Wiltshire in the UK. This is a 1,000 square metre maze of mirrors, flashing lights and audio effects, and the perfect place to bring a date you're not so keen on. Adrian Fisher is the artist and designer of this maze, and you might be amazed to know that Adrian makes a living out of getting people lost, having designed over 400 mazes worldwide. With a castle-shaped maze in the United States, a dragon maze in England and a jasmine maze in Beijing, Adrian has got people walking around in circles and scratching their heads all over the world. If you get lost in a maze, the best thing to do is just to sit and wait for help to arrive. If you think you've been waiting for more than 2 weeks, try putting in a phone call to the local search and rescue. And if you get no answer there, well, I guess you're going to die in a maze. Yes, it's time to pack up the paint palette and put away the easel. Our Art for Odd's Sake episode is ready to hang in the gallery. Talk about blood, sweat and tears. We saw the artist using his own blood instead of paint. I think that's transfusion art. Stand-up comedy that's pretty wet. The underwater comics of Japan. I love these guys. We stayed down deep with underwater painting. It's the exhibition that'll give you the bends. And Nonya the orangutan, the darling of the art world. Well, it's better than swinging from trees. We don't know why they do it, but we're glad they do, because we've put them all together and made a TV show. See you next time on Odd Spots.